Today on the show, we talk to the great Louie Anderson, and ICE breaks up the family of a lieutenant colonel.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So, really what we're doing on the show today is killing time until the conversation with one of the greatest stand-up comics of all time. A guy who's won multiple Emmy Awards, a best-selling author, a star of movies and TV, the great Louie Anderson. Yeah. And, man, I can't wait for this conversation. This is a guy who, by the way, has a very special place in my personal history. Now, if you are like me and everybody else, you've got some stuff that happened at some stage or another with your family. Families aren't easy. And Louie Anderson wrote an incredible book, The F Word, Families and How to Survive Them. And this book magically dropped into my lap when I probably needed it the most, when all sorts of drama, all sorts of craziness, all sorts of unbelievably difficult and painful things were unfolding with my family. And gosh, it really was exactly that. It was a survival guide. And so, conversation with Louie Anderson means to me a chance to thank someone who's made a tremendous positive difference in my life. Did you know Louie Anderson was a counselor for children before he became a stand-up comic? And man, knowing that, if you ever hear any of his comedy or read any of his books, that completely makes sense going on. It's almost like he's working through stuff on stage, allowing us to laugh with him and holding up a mirror so we can work through our own stuff. It's a weird and beautiful combination of comedy and therapy, going beyond the fact that laughter is the best medicine. So like I said, we're killing time today until the conversation with Louie Anderson. But before we do, I wanted to ask you an important question. Before we do talk to Louie, I wanted to ask you an important question. What do you suppose happened to us? What do you suppose happened to us? What happened to America? At what point did we get so fixated on the letter of the law that we wound up ignoring the things that were right? If you're like me, you find this to be infuriating. In 2013, there's a guy, Army Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Schreiber. And in 2013, Army Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Schreiber and his wife put off officially adopting their teenage daughter, Haibin, who was born in South Korea. You see, Schreiber was about to deploy to Afghanistan for a year. When he returned, they put through the paperwork, they adopted her, and then they started working on her citizenship. By the way, there are so many people in this world that want to have a kid, and so many children in this world that have nothing and no one. And I understand you have to look out for the interests of a child. You have to protect them at all costs. But there are so many people who would make such wonderful parents that will never get to be parents because of the number of barriers they put between wanting a kid and being able to adopt a kid. I don't have all the answers on this one. I don't know anything about protecting the welfare of a child from a legal standpoint, but I do know that in America and all over the world, there are people that want nothing more than to give a child with nothing and no one a loving home. And it's unbelievably difficult and costly for them to do that. But I digress. This guy, Army Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Schreiber and his wife, they put off adopting their teenage daughter, Haibin, who was born in South Korea, when he deployed to Afghanistan for a year. And when he returned, they put through the paperwork, they officially adopted her, and then started working on her citizenship. But in the interim, Hyben had turned 17 years old, which is a problem because U.S. immigration law cutoff for a foreign-born adopted child to become a naturalized U.S. citizen is 16 years old. This past week, just gone by, a U.S. District Court in Kansas ruled in favor of the folks over at ICE that there would not be an exception in Hyben's case. She is allowed to complete her degree in chemical engineering at the University of Kansas, which she will do next year. And then this adopted daughter of one of our veterans must return to Korea. Unthinkable, unbelievable, unconscionable. This man, Schreiber, served in the military, putting himself in front of our safety for 27 years. He met his wife, Soo Jin, while he was serving as a tank company officer, a tank company executive officer in Korea with the 1st Battalion, 72nd Armor Regiment in the late 1990s. Hyben, to give you a little history on this girl, was Soo Jin's niece. And when Hyben's home life became too difficult, Schreiber and his wife took her in as their own daughter. Schreiber did multiple deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan before retiring in the year 2015. Schreiber and his wife are filing an appeal, but he says that they lost the case. And if the appeal doesn't go through, if the appeal doesn't work out, then the whole family will move to Korea. This is a man's daughter. She has been adopted. She is his child. And because a piece of paperwork wasn't filled out before she turned 17, because he was too busy risking his life to protect our freedom, ICE isn't making an exception, and she's gone, forcing this man and his wife to leave the country rather than having their family, which is what it is, broken up. The man had incredible words. He said, "As I tell my daughter, life isn't fair, but the main thing is to be resilient." In this case, he shouldn't have to be. What happened to us?
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So like you and I said earlier, today we're essentially killing time till our conversation with the great Louie Anderson, one of the greatest stand-ups of all time, multiple Emmy Award winner, best-selling author, a star of movies and TV, and a guy who wrote a book that, man, really came along at a time when I desperately needed it. A book about families and how to survive them. If you have ever had any kind of issue with your family whatsoever, which of course you have because everybody does, then, man, I can't recommend this book highly enough. I mean, all of his books are great, but it really is truly a survival guide for some of life's more difficult familial situations. Anyways, we'll talk to Louie Anderson in just a little bit, but until then, like I said, we're killing time. So let's have a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News, shall we? So Taylor Swift, after remaining successfully neutral for many years, has finally entered the fray of the political world. Taylor Swift has endorsed Tennessee Democratic candidates for the House and the Senate. However, before she could finish, Kanye stepped up to say that Beyonce makes the greatest endorsements of all time. Actually, there's a really, really bizarre and somewhat disturbing twist to the Taylor Swift getting into politics story. And she's not getting into politics. She's not running for anything. But this is the first time she's ever been anything in her career than completely neutral. But white supremacists are abandoning Taylor Swift. Yeah, as expected, Taylor Swift's endorsement of Democratic candidates in Tennessee is costing her some support, but not everyone who's renouncing their Swiftie-hood will be missed. And into that category fall the white supremacists. Yeah. See, white supremacists on the internet channel, or the internet forum, 4chan rather, adopted Taylor Swift a couple years back as a sort of Aryan goddess. And now she's endorsed some Democratic candidates they simply cannot deal. Yeah, white supremacists on the internet forum 4chan adopted Taylor Swift as this Aryan goddess, and now they can't deal with the fact that she's endorsing Democrats. Many are calling her a traitor, even though she was never one of them in the first place. Some think she was paid, as if Taylor Swift needs the money, which she obviously does not. There's even this ridiculous theory being floated around that she did it because she has a black boyfriend. Or, it could be that she believes in love, tolerance, equality, and is looking for a candidate that speaks to her sense of belief. She doesn't think that the Republican candidates in her state feel the same way, like she said. Of course, how remiss of me. These are white supremacists we're talking about. And, well, that little theory I just postulated there would mean that a woman thought for herself. Perish the thought! Another thing these freaking morons seem to take an issue with. Anyways, interestingly enough, who is all sort of equanimous and level-headed in this situation? Our president. Yeah. One person Taylor has not lost yet is President Trump, at least not all the way. He said, quote, let's say I like Taylor Swift's music about 25% less now.
Taylor Swift's coming into politics. What do you have to say to her? And what did she say? She said she wants people to vote for Democrats. And not Marsha Blackburn, especially. Well, Marsha Blackburn is doing a very good job in Tennessee. She's leading now substantially, which she should. She's a tremendous woman. I'm sure Taylor Swift has nothing or doesn't know anything about her. And let's say that I like Taylor's music about 25% less now, okay?
Things are apparently not so easy for Bill Cosby in the Pokey. Fellow prisoners have apparently already hit Bill Cosby with a number of food items. Yeah, fellow prisoners have hit Bill Cosby with stale hot dog buns and chicken patties in just his first few days in prison. Yeah, well, hot dog buns and chicken patties, that's obviously not great, but I think Cosby's main worry should really be the prisoners coming after them with their sausages. Ryan Lochte, Swim Shady. Remember that guy? Ryan Lochte is seeking treatment for alcohol addiction. Some people wonder why his friends never staged an intervention. Ooh, I can answer that one. It's because those friends do not exist. The CEO of American Airlines recently said that crowded planes are more comfortable. So yeah, evidently America's pilots, not the only ones who are drunk. There is a toilet-themed restaurant in Taiwan. Oh my gosh, I'll post pictures of this on my Twitter at ADSXE. Do yourself a favor and check it out. It's revolting. This toilet-themed restaurant in Taiwan, diners actually sit down on real toilets, actual toilets, instead of chairs. Whatever you do, avoid the number 2 special. So, question. What's the single most expensive thing your kid has ever done? Because a toddler recently managed to blow through his parents' savings in the oddest way you could ever imagine. Yeah, a Utah toddler put $1,000 of his parents' money into a paper shredder. Well, first, ever heard of a bank? Second, why'd your toddler have the ability to run a paper shredder? Third, it's not that big of a deal. A lot of my friends growing up did the same thing to 80 grand by getting liberal arts degrees. Google Plus is shutting down after a security breach. To which Mark Zuckerberg replied, "You're supposed to do that? Oh, how about that?" Yeah, closure is going to be a real hardship for all 10 people who still use Google Plus. Louie Anderson is on the phone. Before we talk to him, let's remind ourselves of the moment America became aware of his genius.
I can't stay long. I'm in between meals, so bear with me. I was just at McDonald's and all those statistics just changed. So. went shopping today. What's this one-size-fits-all stuff? Being in California, being fat, and try to get into this California life. Went to the beach the other day. Every time I'd lay down, people would push me back into the water. Hurry up, he's dying. And the bums down at the beach, always coming up to you, those guys. Hey, buddy, could you help me out with a sandwich? Well, sure, where is it?
Hey, it's Louie Anderson.
Dude, I've been.
How are you?
I am so much better now. You called. I've been staring at the phone. We're waiting for it to ring. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Oh, was this the right time, or do I have the wrong time?
No, it was. I was just looking at the phone in anticipation. You're perfectly on time. You're like a minute and a half early, which we people in radio appreciate.
Are you AD?
I am AD.
AD, nice to meet you. I'm Louie, LA. LA AD.
The reason I'm so excited to talk to you is because for years I've kind of wanted to thank you. Your book, The F Word, How to Survive Your Family, dude, that thing meant everything to me. It came along at a point in my life where I really needed it, and I wanted to say thank you.
Oh, AD, thank you. That means the world to me. I mean, I just know, it's kind of a funny life. I have this great life that I do acting and I do stand up a lot, and those are the things that kind of are so much fun and serendipity, and then just like how I never would have known that affected you, and so that's a great gift to me, that I got to find out that a book that was difficult for me to write and had a lot of ramifications with my family. They weren't all thrilled with it.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine they weren't.
And so to hear that means the world to me. It means, I was trying to help myself, and I was trying to help in the process, hopefully, other people. And that's why I thought it was an important book, because I think we get lost and if you are in the same story over and over and you don't have any information and you don't know what to do, sometimes somebody else's journey out of theirs can help you find a way out of yours.
There were so many points in that book where I'm like, oh, this is how you might deal with this. But I think the most important thing was, I think when you're going through whatever it is you're going through, especially with family, especially when you did something that took some doing, in that you don't want to throw other family under the bus when you don't necessarily know who to go talk to. Knowing that there's someone else out there that is going through or has been through something that was the really big thing with it.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
So we're talking to the great Louie Anderson. And Louie, you wrote this incredible book called Family, The F Word, and How to Survive Them, which, came along at a great point in my life.
Well, I've always been torn between, should I write this stuff? Because it doesn't make you more successful or popular comedy-wise to do these kind of things. They actually kind of arrest your career. They kind of hurt the idea that everything's fun and everything's rosy and everything's, but I always felt like it was important. It always was something I felt like I had to do, and that's why I did it. And the thing you just told me, your experience with it and what it meant to you, is exactly the reinforcement that makes it, makes everything worth it. No matter what I went through, makes it worth it to know that it meant something to you, because shouldn't that be what we're all doing for each other? That's kind of my way I'm trying to live my life.
I mean, look, you've probably seen the receipts. You know a little bit better what affects your career and what doesn't. But I actually got into your comedy through that book. It was one of those things where I was going on a road trip and I was like, this is, I've got this audio book. I'm going to listen to that as I drive. And I got the hard copy as well, because when I was driving, I wanted to read it. And well, it just, I got into your comedy and everything else that you've done because of that.
No, that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
You never know what affects people, and you never know, because you put it out there and you hope that it matters to somebody. I recently got an email from somebody because of something I said that meant a great deal to them, and it was very, very, very moving email and very brave to share all the problems that the person had been through, and I appreciate it. I answered the email. I always answer the email.
Well, from the movies to the books to the TV shows to the stand-up, specifically the stand-up, everything you do makes such a big difference in people's lives. And for that reason, I wanted to ask you, if you had to pick one moment, maybe it was seeing somebody else on TV, maybe it was listening to a record, maybe it was seeing someone live. If you had to pick one moment where you knew for a fact that you had to do comedy, that was going to be your life, what would you say that was?
If I had to pick one moment that got me there, or one thing that would propel me to it?
Well, I mean, obviously you had, the moment where you broke, but where you knew it was a must for you.
When people stopped me afterwards and said, "Hey, that was so great. That really was the thing. You made me forget about my troubles during the show." And that was in the little club in Mickey Finn's, where people had access to us because there were only 5 comics, and when we were done, we would always hang around and talk to people. And when people would say to me, my dad was like that, and I'm glad you talk about that thing, or that joke really meant a lot to me because I'm also struggling with my weight and that kind of stuff. So I've always felt like I love the response of the laughter, but I always feel like if I could get people to take something home with them that would make them feel better long after they saw me, that would be my bonus. And that's that. But for me to say, one day I just said, well, this is all I can ever hope to do. This is, I felt once I started doing it, AD, I knew I had to do it. It was almost like my drug.
Very good.
And what's so great is this is my 40th year, and I feel like I just did some shows over the weekend out on the East Coast, and I go, oh man, I'm enjoying. I don't want to be egotistical, but I've never been better. And that really made me feel good. Like I was so proud of myself because I'm not letting up. I'm putting the accelerator to the floor. So I'm taking it even further and pushing it even more. And I'm putting a master set together for Kaboo. I'm taking all 6 of my specials, all my recordings, all my stuff, and I'm taking all the very best of Louie Anderson that is guaranteed to get a laugh, and I'm putting it all together to see if I could make the people explode at Kaboo.
I'm glad that you're not. I'm glad you're doing that because I've never gotten a chance to see you play live, but I've listened to, seen the specials, all of the above for many years, and I really like it. Like there's some comics that will do an hour and throw it out at the end of the year and start fresh. I really love. For want of a better expression, a greatest hit set. It's just like, it doesn't matter if I've heard it before. I know it's coming, and I still laugh.
And here's what's so great. I love the idea that, because I love when I go and somebody does all their hits in music.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. I look forward to it. And just was doing it this weekend. I go, I'm gonna put together a master set. I'm gonna put together the set of all sets. I'm gonna put the set together that made me successful.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. And you make an excellent point. Like Robert Plant also playing Kaboo. What if he came up and were like, no whole lot of love, just a bunch of stuff I've done in the last year? Like, people would be mad because, you know, you've made tremendous contributions to people's lives over the years with your words and everything that you've done. And I love that you're doing that. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be, I'll tell you what's going to be so much fun about it. I am going to have the chance to enjoy it as much as everyone else, which always doubles the enjoyment for the crowd, in my opinion. If I'm free and full into it, they're free and full into it. I'm excited about Kaboo.
Man, it should be an absolutely fantastic one. Look, the musical lineup is always stellar. The comedy lineup is stellar. And it's an amazing, amazing day. The food's delicious. The restrooms are clean and they all flush as opposed to being potties of the porta variety. It's like,
nice.
There's really never a better experience for this sort of thing.
I think I'm on it too. Am I right?
I got to double check, but I know I will be there.
Yeah. Well, good. Please come and say hello, will you? So that I can get a face for this wonderful interview. And also bring your book if you have it. I'd love to write something in it.
I would absolutely love that. And do you have to rush off to something? Are you free to talk for a little bit more?
No, go ahead.
Oh, excellent. Well, no, I just, that thing that you said, I wanted to go back to that. The thing you said about feeling like you're leaving people with something to take home. The laughs are great, but you've given them something that can maybe make the rest of their journey through life a little bit easier, take away some of the sting of daily living. I feel like that's what makes you special in everything that you do. I feel like everything that you've ever done, the books, the animated series, the comedy, all of it seems to be with this idea in mind. I'm going to try and leave the world a little bit better than I found it. And I think that's what, I think that's why you're still doing it for 40 years and have a greatest hit set.
Yeah, it all just came together all of a sudden. And, because I'll be at the show and people will go, the cranberries, for my set on my mom, the cranberries, and then the dad thing, oh, is that right, Louie? And then somebody will go, all right. And people will throw that out, throw the lines out. Nickel difference, Louie. These are things, and I didn't realize that they resonated. I didn't realize that. I'll tell you a really funny story about, if you will indulge me.
Absolutely.
I was at Bally's, and a guy was really drunk, and he kept going, Louie, hey, Louie. I go, what? I was trying to, he wasn't bothering anybody, but I was laughing because it sounded so, Louie, you ready yet? Are you blood? And I go, what is he saying? He's saying something I know. And I did a joke on the Tonight Show, and he was repeating it, but he was so drunk. I did a joke where I wiped my brow, and I go, I'm sorry I'm sweating, but if I don't, I'll explode, right? And he was saying, Louie, you sweating yet? You gonna explode? And he was so hammered, but that's what he did. And I never forgot, Louie, you sweating yet? Explode.
You have hit a point in your career where, this is the power of having done it for 40 years. You haven't told me a joke necessarily, and I'm familiar with if I don't sweat, I explode. But just hearing your voice talking the way you do, it's like you've now got couple generations of people that are Pavlovian style trained to be happy and laugh when they hear your voice. It's an immensely powerful position for you to be in.
You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Radio. Radio. 104.1.
more AD on the radio.
So we're talking to the great Louie Anderson, one of the greatest stand-ups of all time, a man who's won multiple Emmy Awards, a man who's written multiple best-selling books, but you're at a point with stand-up where you don't even have to tell a joke because people know you and love you for so long, so much. You can just walk on stage and say something and we start laughing and smiling.
And likewise for me, like I am so connected to my audience nowadays that I have a hard time leaving the stage. I just keep going. The other night I did 2 hours. I've been, like just 2 hours with the blink of an eye, basically, and I go, what do you guys, are you done? Do you want to, what should we do? And I just kept going. And then I know that the theater was going, we're going into overtime. And, but God, I just was I have to tell you, I was sopping wet at the end of it. And I just felt, I felt like a rock star, I have to be honest with you. I felt like this is what it means when you leave it. I left it all. Right. When an audience, I'm not bragging, but when an audience immediately gets up when you say goodnight, when they immediately get up and stand up and when it's just spontaneous and it just is listen,
I know exactly.
I'm having the time of my life, still doing the thing that I started October 10th, 1978.
This is, I think, what makes you special. It's, that you're sharing something. It becomes more than just a guy on stage that knows how to kill and an audience that's there to laugh. It's when you're joined together in that experience, and it's a special, magical thing that I don't know how often it happens for you, but I'm sure it happens and enough for you to realize what an incredible thing it is.
I think that I've been toying with this idea that I just came, one day through a series of heartbreaks. I decided that I was going to live a completely joyous life. And I can't stress enough how important that change is to making yourself, to say to yourself, yeah, that's all good and that's fine, and this is a problem and that is this, but damn it, I am going to live a joyous life, because my life could be gone tomorrow. Anybody's life could be gone in a second. And I am not going to not live in a joyous way. I am not going to regret. I'm not going to fret. And I'm not going to be bummed out about things that just do not matter. What really matters is the joy in life, and that joy elevates me and elevates my comedy and seeps into the crowd as the joy in the crowd seeps into me. And, it's free flow, and I just love it. I'm telling you, I love doing stand-up still. And that is a testament to, I don't know, the bright light that's shining so directly into my eyes and heart.
Well, you couldn't have put it more beautifully. I feel like through all of your work, whether it's the books or the comedy or any of the above, it seems like you're working through stuff always.
I am.
But you're allowing us to do that with you, if that makes sense.
I guess I'm just I don't mind people looking over my shoulder or looking directly at it. I don't mind while I'm doing it. Like you ever watch your mom make a fantastic batch of cookies and, or, whatever it was, her specialty, or you ever watch somebody make caramels or fudge or scoop ice cream.
Oh, great. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, that's all that stuff, like I'm just saying, like, I don't mind sharing with you what, thing I thought was a burden, but turned into be funny and a travesty, but funny still, like just the experience, the idea that, Like, it's really, I'm down in Florida, and it just started raining so hard, you know? And all I could think about was, it's so fantastic to get sopping wet in the rain. I have 1,000,000 memories from childhood till now of getting sopping wet. And there's something about coming in the door and saying, throw me a towel, I'm sopping wet. And there's something about being cleaned off and cleansed and refreshed and get a part of what came from the sky onto you and not look at it as a burden. Who cares if your shoes are wet, your socks are wet, your pants are wet, your underwear are wet, your hair's wet? Who cares? You know, who cares? It doesn't, you know, I didn't run for it because I'm not a good runner, but I walked in that rain and I enjoyed every second of it.
Well, look, these are all the reasons why it's going to be a very special thing when we get a chance to see you at KAABOO. I personally can't wait to do it. I know there's tons of people that will be there with me.
This is the first time this set, the super set, the ultimate set, the master set.
Oh, this is the debut of
yeah, no, I haven't done it before. I haven't done so I'm excited because it's very hard to pick the 100 or whatever it's going to be, best things. I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm going way back. I'm going way back with the jokes.
Well, I mean, how hard is it for you to do that? You always hear bands say, wow, we haven't played that one in a little while. Let's, you know, we had to blow the dust off a little bit in practice before we took it to the stage. How hard is it for you?
I'll probably sneak into the club a couple times and do it. I'll probably sneak into Vegas. You know, there's a couple clubs in Vegas, and I live in Vegas, and I'll probably sneak into them and do a couple, maybe one at the Comedy Store, you know, sneak in, do little chunks of them, you know, if something doesn't feel right. But mostly, it's not hard. It's just like, it's a memory thing. Like, okay, they'll fall into place. I'm positive of it. They'll fall into place, you know. I mean, I'm going to be down by San Diego. I haven't done the zoo bit. That was a huge bit for me. The San Diego Zoo, when first time you go there, I remember the guy said, I said, how much is it? The guy said, $50. I go, I don't want to take any of the animals. I just want to look at them. And I remember that experience. And I remember going up that thing and looking up what's up that hill? Giraffe? I've seen that. I don't need to see that again. You know, they're just right there. You know, all that stuff is just right there. And because of where I'm at and how hard I've been working, they're just right there. They're just around the corner, you know.
Well, man, I cannot wait to see you. September 15th, Saturday of KAABOO. Looks like 2:00 in the afternoon. We got a chance to see Louie Anderson, and I can't.
Louie too.
Yeah, I can't. Louie too. Yeah, I can't think of anything better. I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm really excited. AD, I can't thank you enough. I hope you realize it means the world to me.
There's not too many opportunities when look. There's people you might see on TV, or there's people that maybe you listen to on the radio, or people people that you maybe haven't met, but people who have made a real difference in your life. When you get a chance to thank someone for something that they've done, that means a lot. I want you to know that. You know, in addition to making me laugh for years, your book really helped me get through some stuff and look at the world in a different way ever since I read it. And thank you. You've made a tremendous difference in my life because of that book and all the other things you've done. And I'm sure mine is just one of many stories out there. And I was just lucky enough to get to tell you.
And don't forget to not take no for an answer about coming back and saying hi.
I absolutely will.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Lou.
Hope people will come out and have some fun. See you the 15th.
Yes, absolutely.